So we'll just start this class with a prayer. As we do, rise and give honors to Allah, the great God of the universe. Rise and give honors to Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet sent in these times to redeem us from our fallen state and to uplift fallen humanity. 5 on the left and 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
The Mother and Father of love.
Mother and Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom.
And
justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide. And our salvation. By night. And by day. Through his and her holy prophet. Drew Ali. Amen.
Ameen.
Ashe. Hotep. Islam. So just quick word that Sunday school, and seeing as how Sunday school is that extra remedial, if you will, class, feel free to ask questions, contribute how you feel, how you see fit. It's just it's open like most classes, but especially Sunday school. So. And then we'll start with a warning from the Prophet, January 15th, 1929, to be read in every meeting. Now, just a quick word on why we read these every meeting. Because the Prophet said to read them in every meeting. They're written on the letter, and this is 1929, so he was, that was the year that he passed. So, pretty much, he had seen what was going on. He could see the people around him conspiring against him. And so he had certain things put in place so that when the new Moors, like he knew would come, came, he would be able to put the pieces together and understand that regardless of the sellout, he left us something. So that is why people who look at this, they wonder, well, what do you guys have? You guys have stuff? It's not about the stuff, because if the Prophet knew that there was going to be a sellout, people would usurp the stuff, funds, etc., buildings, then he's a prophet, so he already knew that. So whatever he set in place is something which they can tamper with, right? And once you know who you are, then you know how to begin to take your place. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or in the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the Prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their Prophet, and if they lose confidence in their Prophet, give up their card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans, that they may do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Drew Ali. Alright, so that was that. And then the other letter that was supposed to be read in every meeting, March 18, 1929. So this is January, no, this is March. So a few months later. Islam, I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, They are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that pay their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the last few years. Okay, over to Ali.
So, first letter.
I just wanted to say, so it seems within those 4 months, obviously, 2 months, right? January to March, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, within those 2 months, there was something happened.
Right.
That's all.
Right.
So I'm just now sort of, it's coming to me that on one side he's saying this one thing, right? And then within 2 months he's like, wow, I have got a few.
And keep in mind what Chairman said, right? That he was a prophet.
Well,
So he knew what was going to go on. Right? He knew what was going to happen. Right? So with him knowing what was going to happen, it's only logical that he also increased his pressure on the Moors,
of course,
while the sellouts are putting pressure on him through every scheme. Right? Trying everything. No different, and not even no different. Trying everything, and those are the things, that those guys tried, those schemes, that's what people started following when they come into this information. Well, they're not following what the prophet said. They're following what the sellouts set up, these families. Right? That's what they're really pushing. Right?
and I'm noticing too though, I was watching one of those videos that you showed me there. He's actually sort of, and it sort of scared me, it made me aware that there are some of these temples, let's say south of this so-called border, some of them are sellouts too.
Right. And not sellouts because...
Well, not even sellouts in that sense, but not following the true
right.
divine
True teachings, right. Well, why aren't they following the truth?
In my mind, I think it's the prophet as well as in some of the stuff, sort of trying to protect some of that, in their mind, to protect some of that information.
Exactly. Now, what I'll completely agree with you with is them doing that in order to protect the prophet and the movement. So them doing the things that they're doing,
Right.
right? That seem to not be the laws from the prophet.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing those things to protect the prophet. They're not doing those things out of insincerity.
Okay.
Because some of them don't know. Some of them were taught by the sellouts. So that's all they know.
I see.
All they know is the sellout tactics.
Yeah.
All they know is the schemes. They don't know. It's no different than church,
That's exactly what I was
right?
saying.
When there's
Nothing
people
more
who
has to be
don't
said.
know what Jesus is saying.
It's because
They want to listen to T.D. Jakes and Square Dollar and whoever.
They've been told the lie, so they're going to pass the lie.
So they're just passing the lie on.
remember-
Opposed to going and checking for themselves.
And remember, Joel, he knew he was a prophet, so he brought divine law. But remember, he knew law, like he knew earthly law. He knew what, like he could have been a lawyer. Like he could have been a judge. Right? From the things that he did, which are fact, without a doubt, like he was beyond the average person. Not even the average person, he was beyond the average like professional, like intelligent person. Like he was a genius basically. So the law stuff, like the fact that he said it's this is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways, that's a lawful statement. Like that's something that's part of the trust.
Yeah.
That's something that makes it a juridic person,
Yeah.
right, in law. So it's everlasting, it's perpetual, right? The fact that, he said, you know, be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh, right? That's heritage and birthrights, right? So all this stuff that he was bringing, some people didn't even understand. Like a lot of, most people didn't even understand.
And when we say most, like uppermost.
Like even the people who,
Well, yeah, because what I've sensed is I was reading something sort of about Buddhism too, and it says that basically your ability to sort of get to that level is a gradual thing. Right. You're not going to walk through this door and know it.
Exactly.
It's going to have to come from work, from understanding, and from coming, and from sort of study.
like you said, in Buddhism, like, it might take generations, but
That's right.
you know, you
That's right.
die and you resurrect, right? You die and then you resurrect
Yeah,
again.
passing on that stuff to even to maybe your children or something like that.
Until like, you know, 80 years, and nobody ever looked at the bottom of the 101,
Just
where it says, see, heard, revised statute. It says to see it, but, you know, it's small. And people, human nature, you know, small print. It's just some small print.
Well, but then you realize every scheme that's coming out there, all kinds of stuff could be co-opting these people.
Right?
But that's why Noble Johnny said, see, heard, revised statute at the bottom of the thing.
Yeah.
To make a move, to counter-move
Yeah.
what the sellouts were doing.
Yeah.
And then Moors who are intelligent will go and look there and see and know exactly what's going on just from reading that.
Yeah. And that's probably,
It'll just hit them like.
and that's probably why you put it in small print too.
Right.
Right? Because the ones who are looking will find.
Right.
Seek and you shall find.
Seek and you shall find.
That's right.
You know, and you're not gonna go seek. You know, it's like when they go kick the door in and they're doing a raid.
Mhm.
They're not going to look in the big cupboard that's open to go find what they're looking for. They're gonna go in the back of the thing, they're gonna go knock the walls and
They're
see
gonna go on
if
the floorboards.
they're gonna check the floorboards, they're gonna cut open mattresses and all that type of stuff. If they're gonna look for something. Right? Because seek and you shall find. But you're not gonna find it in the open.
I think that's what, yeah.
Right? But now, you know, like, we're putting it in the open now. So it's easy for anybody to find. All you have to do is put Canaanland Moors on YouTube. You'll find about Moors for sure. Like for sure. If anybody's like confused about, you know, where could we find out about the Moors and what? Just put Canaanland Moors in the Google search engine. And then you get ample amounts of pages, ample amounts of pages, ample amounts of pages.
In fact, there's a brother that came earlier. He just couldn't stay because he didn't know the timing of the class, but that's how he found out about this.
Right. Because it has to be out in the open now. Like it can't be something hidden anymore. Because it's been hidden for 80 years.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is something it's an energy system that's beyond anyone else being able to stop it.
Right. Right. So, Noble Drew Ali said that we have to obey the laws. Right? And obeying the laws doesn't mean follow what the corporate people say is the law. Right? Obeying the law means to listen to the prophet. Obeying the law doesn't mean Taj said Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution is, you know, whatever it is. Obey the law is, you will read Article 4, Section 4.
Yeah, that's what he says, basically, it's about uplifting us.
Right.
Not about him being the father, the teacher.
About the teacher.
About us being teachers.
Right. So that we can teach others, and then those people can teach those people. So everybody's supposed to be at it. There's not supposed to be adepts and and then under the adepts are
Followers
followers or
the sheep
whatever.
or the mook
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right? Everybody's supposed to be adept. Because then when everybody's adept, then everybody has the right to say, okay, you know what, yeah, we think that this person should be the person to be our representative. Because everybody's on one accord. Be an adept.
Everyone's got that level of
Right,
awareness.
that level of awareness. That, you know, it's not an argument. If we say, Noble Drew Ali is a juridic person, everybody's supposed to know what that is. Right? Because that's at the bottom of the 101, see Bird's Revised Statute. And as soon as you read it, you would understand what he was really doing. Right? When he held up the 101s and he held up the Circle 7 and said, yo, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take it and save yourself. Right? You'll be able to understand the sellout, because Noble Drew Ali talked about that, so that's the laws. You will be able to know your history, right? You'll be able to put things in a perspective that, like we're saying downstairs, that, you know, people see this, but then they don't want to deal with it. Like all of a sudden they have something to do and we start talking about nationality and birthrights or whatever, and you know they have to go or something.
Yeah.
Right? That's cool. Because, you know, first time you see a spaceship, you're gonna be shocked too. That, you know, those really exist.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Right? Or the first time you have some type of traumatic experience,
Of course.
it's gonna hit you a certain way. You know, and that's what truth is to a lot of our people.
And I think I realize that comes from the conditioning that happens.
Right.
Because what I found is very easy for me to believe this, to understand this. Because I haven't set myself in any one box. But how they condition us, they make you not accept things that seem to be abnormal. Really, they're normal.
Right. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. You know, and think about how abnormal it is for somebody to be trained that they're a slave that came over here from Africa, when really and truly they're indigenous to here.
That's right.
And they never came from anywhere.
That's right.
And the only time they came from Africa was when America and Africa were one landmass.
That's right.
Other than that, they are who they are, where they are.
That's right.
Right? Like how come Mexicans are trying to go back to Africa?
Exactly.
Brazilians aren't trying to go back to Africa. Haitians aren't trying to go back to Africa.
That got us convinced that.
But they got us convinced that, yeah, we need to go back over there.
That's right.
And then people over there are trying to come here. Not even trying. People, they're going to go over there and it's going to be empty.
Yeah.
Right? Then what are they going to say? Where's all our people? Where'd all our people go? Yeah, well, they all went to the promised land, America, where you were, that you just said that you didn't want that.
Well, like you say too, when you go there, you ain't got no heritage there. It's not yours.
Right? They'll accept you as family.
Yeah. Of course.
No.
You can't
Right?
even trace
A
yourself.
Ghanaian chief would give you land and all that,
Yeah.
but that's not because you're from there.
That's right.
You're just doing a courtesy. Anybody, just like anybody else who comes. You know, that's family. Yeah, go do whatever with over there. There's some land over there for you. You know, because you're my family. Like, why wouldn't I give you land? Right? But even in that perspective, you know, like it's like when we were watching the Deeds and Trust DVD, right? And Todd was reading the writs, and he's talking about the Asian brother, Chinese, that's ill because they never really lost their birthright like that. They still know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
That he's gonna see Noble Drew Ali. This is like an Asian person.
Mm-hmm.
An Asian person is gonna see Noble Drew Ali, accept him as the prophet,
Mm-hmm.
nationalize,
Mm-hmm.
and then start exercising as a Moor. But that person's Asian. Like with last name like Chin or Yao or whatever. They're gonna take L, put it on their name, and exercise. Because their perspective of what's going on is different. Because they have, it's clear. Because they have a history. Asian management, right? They have a history. You know what I mean? Hindus, they have a history.
I even saw in that same thing that Europeans took on and created a Moorish Orthodox church.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Right? And that's Europeans.
That's right.
They have a Moorish Orthodox church.
That's right.
How orthodox is that?
Yeah, like how Orthodox is that? Right? You know?
But it shows you
Exactly, it shows you.
that when the truth is out there,
Right, but what's Black Power people gonna do? Black Power people are gonna say, well, nah, I don't want that because the European has his hands in it, and the European said Amor means this, and that's a European word,
That's
and
funny, but then
but
they
Europeans are using it.
but it's funny, they got those same people in church believing some lies.
right,
Right?
Some European stuff.
Huh?
yeah, European
That's
stuff,
right.
right,
That's right.
right, you know. But then Drew Ali said that some of the best Moors are in the church,
Then he said that.
right? Yeah, but so imagine now, 'cause if they were in the church back then,
What do you think is better now?
you know, no, but there's gonna be more of them in the church now
Yeah.
than there were back then. And majority of the people who are in the church are really sincere people that, you know, want the best for humanity.
I think I was talking to you about some of them. I think some of them though are really brainwashed,
Yeah. Same thing you talk about, the conditioning.
and it's terrible. They don't know what to do. They break down, and it completely confuses them.
It come back again to the truth. That when truth is presented, right, especially the people who think that they have the truth, like they're
It's a scary thing when
it's
they
a
realize
scary thing for
it's
them.
not the truth.
That it's not the truth. Like 50, 60 years, you really thought that you were doing what you were supposed to do. And you really weren't supposed to be doing that. You were doing the opposite of what God said you're supposed to do.
You're going down the wrong road.
You're going down the wrong road. All the time thinking that you're going down the right road,
That's right.
you know, and don't want to turn back and say, okay, you know what, let's.
I think that's part of the problem though, because for a lot of people it's hard to. So it's hard for a lot of people to then admit to that,
Yeah.
because then they don't turn around and come back.
Right, but that's even in the prophecies. God says it's going to take you 50 years to find out what I brought you. And 50 years after I'm gone, you wouldn't even know that I was here. He's saying the same thing. You know, you've been going down the wrong road for so long, and you know, 50 years would have passed by, and you wouldn't even know that I was here. And that's people now who are now coming into Noble Drew Ali in you know 21st century or whatever. First time they're hearing about this man for like 80, 90 years. First time, never heard his name ever before.
I asked my mom, she teaches black history, she never, black history,
Right.
never heard of him. Crazy. Absolutely nuts if you think about it.
Yeah,
It's criminal.
yeah, it is. Like for real.
When they were talking about was it Haile Selassie or Marcus Garvey being a colonist or something, or some, I didn't have enough info for that,
Yeah.
but you know, just to hear it, you realize how badly they've got this stuff perverted.
Yeah, they have it locked, if you will. Right?
The very intellectuals supposedly should be knowing are teaching lies.
But and they're teaching lies because they never had any type of interaction with the prophet,
For the truth.
the prophet. Because that's one of the principles, truth. out of the 5 principles that he said that he brought.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
of course.
like, he laid it all out. If you're looking for love or truth or peace or freedom or justice,
That's right here.
be part of this. And everybody's wanting that. That's what everybody wants: love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. But they don't want to be part of this because they think this is some Arab thing, and they think this is some Muslim thing.
Maybe that was all part of it too.
The larger concepts are, you know what I mean, misconstrued, misunderstood.
I think that's where these things, they've set up this covering, so that when you go to look for the truth, there's something else there.
Well, yeah, but it comes back again to prophet. Because in prophet's teachings, you would learn, you never ever look at what's apparent. Like, you always see how far the rabbit hole goes, just because. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, why not? Especially if you're, you know, supposed to be, you know, knowing thyself, and that's what life is about, and, you know, going back to your history and finding your culture and all that, then why are we playing video games? You know what I mean? Like, why are we doing madness? You know? Why somebody dies, like, you know, everything stops. But do you think that person who's transcended, do you think they're
crying
They're
somewhere.
stopping, yeah.
sad?
Yeah.
Like, they're so happy that it's over,
That's right.
they're on the next plane.
Well, that's why in Trinidad they have wakes, right? I mean, they're having a good time.
Right, exactly.
It's a
Can't
party.
to go up
Right,
and
yeah.
But and that's
Party.
because that's astrophysics. You know what I mean? Because if they just went to a higher realm, then that's the time that you're supposed to be sitting and trying to, any kind of time travel, any kind of thing you want to do, that's when you're supposed to do it. Because some people take a year to mourn. They're not mourning. It's a time for ritual. Because that's a gateway that opened up. But if you sit there and ball your eyes out and then, which if that's what you have to do, then do it. But then if you know what I mean? You know, 2 weeks later, you know, you're hustling and you're trying to forget about it or trying to get over it. It's not about getting over it. It's about insight. And what can I learn now that this person is just walked through the doorway? When else are you going to look into the room other than when somebody walks through the doorway?
Of course.
If you can't go through the doorway until it's your time, then that's the time to be peeking when someone's going through. You don't try to peek when the door's closed and nobody's walking through. You try to peek when somebody's going through. And you sit okay. As long as it, and if the door takes forever to close, if it take, you know what I mean, the longer it takes to close, just see
The better it is.
whatever you can see. Keep looking.
That's why.
But, and the concept's messed up, right?
Yeah.
They have a funeral and grieve, and then, you know, after a week it's, and then you don't want to talk about it because it might make you whatever.
Madness.
And it goes back again to, you know, obey the laws. Because if you follow the laws, you would know that, okay, well, you know, that's just the body, you know, and the spirit lives on. The spirit doesn't die. That's in the circle 7.
It's a high law.
It's
a high law. That's not
spirit
even
doesn't
a
die.
parking
Man is
ticket.
not just the flesh. Man is the flesh and the spirit strangely mixed.
And all religions agree to that, especially Christians. Like, that's what Jesus came to do.
yeah.
And then they're going to turn around, and the thing that he came to do and teach them, they're going to ignore it. Like, yeah, they get on all his, like, lesser teachings, because straight, they're lesser teachings. They're just not, they're not less important, they're just not the thing. Like, he came and brought, that was the thing that he brought. Like, yeah, my flesh is dead and I'm still here. Bomb. That was it. That was the epiphany. That was like the whole shebang bang. And then so-called Christians wanna
Take it.
get on some like heaven and hell and purgatory business. Like,
Pluralism.
what is all that stuff? Jesus was a Buddhist. Because why would he come and be about himself? I'm studying the religion of myself. and you all will follow me instead. And then that's not egotism?
The problem is the information has been changed. The information has been.
Well, that's what I was gonna say downstairs, that yeah, the information has been changed and the information has been burned, but that's why we have DNA.
That's right.
And that's why we have cells, and cells have brains
That's right.
that hold more information than the brain in our head,
That's right.
because
It's called cellular memory.
cellular memory. And then that's why we're supposed to get all that stuff from the books that they burn.
That's right.
But if we don't even have the knowledge of something called cellular memory, you're not gonna activate anything.
That's right.
Just like birthright. Yeah, you could say that you're a moron all you want, but if you don't like do
Step
it,
up and claim it.
if you don't claim it,
That's what he's saying.
then it's just
And that's what all these
Sitting
people are
down there.
saying. It's basically about opening that door. Right?
Exactly. But if stuck in belief, then you get the information, and then it's, do I believe it or not? And then it's just it's a binary. It's either yes or no. And then if you decide no, you don't believe it, then you can put it down and walk away. But that's like saying you're gonna consider an experiment, and you have your chemicals all set up, and then you're gonna look at everything and think about what you think is gonna happen, and then based on that, you're just gonna decide, okay, that's what's gonna happen, and then you're gonna put away your chemicals. If you got all the chemicals out, everything was set up, and then you just thought about it, and whatever you felt, that was your conclusion, and you put it away. That's why belief is the first step. They didn't even get to faith yet. They don't even go down the road of experimentation to get to fruition.
Belief, faith, and
And
fruition.
then fruition. So yeah, people are talking about belief all day long. Of course, like, stuff's gonna be wrong, and they're gonna be, you know what I mean, wasting their time. They have to know that, because I mean that's the wrong. Like, yeah, if that's your beliefs, okay, cool. Like, you're wrong.
And then remember,
Because you're believing.
like Todd just said, yeah, you can kill me, but I'll come back again. So majority of us who get this are people who, came back again.
That's right.
Because who else is gonna do what we do? There's nobody coming that's gonna do what we do. For sure, guaranteed. Right? And there's not gonna be black, African, European, Asian, whatever, martial artist that's quote unquote expert that's gonna tell you, don't worry, just come to class till it's alright, pay later. Like, that's not going on. And you have to give the post-dated check for 12 months to go get those guys' belts. And then they could come here, pay $10 a class, whatever you can, whatever. They get the same belts and everything, but they don't want that.
True. So I think I'm missing the analogy, sort of the analogy that you're saying, that what?
Just that it's for everybody.
Okay.
Everything is for everybody.
Yeah.
It's not,
It's not something secret.
it's not clubism.
Yeah.
It's not something secret.
But that's what's been pushed, or that's what has.
Secrecy's been pushed.
That's what's been going on.
Right.
And the thing about it is some people just don't see what it's really worth. The system that has
Well,
put, the religious system that has put guilt on people and fear in people to suffer a deathless pain at the hand of the God who's supposed to be the God of love. They're in a position where they're putting their values into something that is totally unrealistic, even to your common sense.
Right.
Just like
Right?
fiat.
So going back to the analogy,
It's all about belief.
If you there's families out there that will pay hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars or more to buy a black belt, and a sensei who's supposed to be upholding the principles of truth, right? And they'll get that black belt before they've even stretched or even warmed up. See? But yet there's something that's set up here where you can get more than just a belt. The training it's a way of life.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, okay.
But because people figure, well, if it's too cheap, it can't be worth much.
I think we were talking, yeah.
They don't see the value in it, right? So
Because
what's
it's
going
free,
on is
because it's
the val-
supposedly free.
Yeah,
It doesn't-
yeah.
it supposedly has
They
no
don't
value.
see it in its proper perspective, like being being called a Moor. Someone saying Moor, right? You have the black supremacists that say we're black and that's it, and we're gonna be like aggressive, and if we have to fight and use violence, we use violence or whatever. There's nowhere where that it says that you're a Moor and you should not defend yourself with impunity should somebody bring it to you. Somebody brings it to you, it's your natural right. It's your responsibility to defend yourself with impunity, and that's your instinct. But those are also written down as laws for people to again see, not just to hear and say, okay, that's it, to see for themselves that that's written down, right? Now, a lot of people are having problems with the word more, but why can't they see the simplicity in it? You know,
Right.
to say you're more does, before it says anything else, does refer to it as dark-skinned people, right? So you got blacks that don't want to be called Moors. That's like saying I'm a black person that doesn't want to be called dark-skinned, a dark-skinned person.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Does that even make sense, right? And then they're so busy looking at the blackness and against the Moorness, and they're totally missing what is there's political values there. There's natural, lawful values and responsibilities there that they totally miss, right? Because they're not seen as having any rights by the way the system is set up. If it was set up a different way, maybe Noble Drew Ali would need to come. But it's set up a certain way, and they're so into like, you know, this we are against you because of what you call yourself. It's like, brethren, if you got a pot, you remember the old thing your grandmother used to say? The pot calling the kettle, the bottom of the kettle black, and laughing at the kettle. There's a stove. You may be boiling water in the kettle, and you may be cooking soup in the pot, but the bottom of each is black, right? So it's like one person is saying, it's like the black supremacists are saying, well, okay, we're not Moors, but yet it means dark skin. And then worse on top of it now, the value in eating the soup. They don't want to eat the soup. They're missing the soup. That's the nourishment that you're gonna get from being who you are, right?
But they drink water all day.
There you go. Yeah, I gotta touch you now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't think they should be quivering on about, oh, I don't want to be called a Moor, because you're just saying, you're pretty much saying you don't want to be called dark skinned.
And a law.
You know what I'm saying? And be educated. Black looks like something like that. Be educated, right? Learn that you're not, you know, that's not common sense. How can you educate a child and say that this is red, right? But this is black. Okay, well, what's this then? Right?
Every other color.
So the confusion can start over some simple things, but the implications are far-reaching on what will be missed if they don't get a proper perspective on things. See? So that's what I have to say on that.
Well, as well as the fact that thing is connected to some other stuff too.
Oh, definitely.
The definition of those things and how you're then treated is what is the real nastiness behind it all.
Yep.
It wouldn't even matter if any of that shit wasn't.
That's right.
That's
That's
really
right.
what that other stuff is really.
That's
meaning.
right. So Moors. So this is what Noble Drew Ali could say. Best Moors are in church because he's referring to their dedication to what they believe.
Yeah,
That's right.
Belief system.
See?
And
Their ability to,
and
their loyalty,
Right?
their faith.
And yes, a lot
And
of
the
them,
numbers,
they
and the numbers.
didn't know better because they weren't taught differently. But their sincerity is something that a person can respect. Right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing that says that in the future that they can't get, you know, the truth.
That's right.
And when they do, that they won't be just as
Zealous.
faithful
Yeah.
and zealous. Yeah.
Yeah. But then too, you can look at it too, like, you know, because Noble Drew Ali said that he came for the unborn and future generation. So you know, if he made the statement of my best morals in the church, he could have been talking about right now only. Because back then nobody would really be in church those times, right? Like there wouldn't be die-hard Christians because majority of them would be slaves anyways,
Like they didn't have the crusade.
right? Yeah, like
Back there. Yeah,
you
back
know,
then.
Most people couldn't read.
Couldn't read.
yeah. Back then it would have been maybe just like people who were on
Most were illiterate.
who were about to be pastors or whatever would have been, you know, ministers.
Yeah.
But there wouldn't have been like congregations of people back then.
Knowledgeable people.
Because Black Wall Street wasn't no Christians. All those were indigenous people from the Trail of Tears that founded all that. That wasn't black people. Even though they call it Black Wall Street. Like that was actually indigenous people who were fleeing persecution and decided to found a city in Oklahoma. And it was just one of the most prosperous cities amongst many. And it was run by us.
And if they did have churches, it wasn't like this, whatever denomination that was, you know what I mean, amicable to neighboring whatever or whoever could maybe give them a little fiat. That's what people wanted back then. Study the records. Like study the records of your ancestors. You'll see like 1 year they'll be Baptist, next year they'll be this, next year they didn't care. Like the way people like, I'm this.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, no.
you know, I'm Protestant,
Yeah, I
you know?
believe it. They didn't
This.
have the belief.
Or I'm a Baptist, like I'm Baptist.
That was more for politics.
That's
They
politics.
was-
Yeah.
And they understood that.
JLP,
Like, we understood. We were on a
PNP,
level there where we understood. Okay, let me just politic.
Let me make the
Yeah.
right move.
Yeah.
But now people are like people they lost the concept again. Again, religion is politics. Now they think religion is spirituality. Like they really think, you know what I mean? And that you know I'm gonna go there and my
This is it.
spiritual development will increase.
And also too, back then, if they weren't involved in any type of Christianity or whatever, it would be an esoteric version.
Of course.
It wouldn't be
Yeah.
dogma.
Yeah.
It would be, yeah, this is the spiritual and I'm trying to be God and all that. That's what it would have been. Because even like Jehovah's Witness,
Yeah.
when they were Bible Tract Society, were talking about esoteric teachings. They weren't talking about what Jehovah's Witness talk about today.
Look up Charles Taze Russell, the founder,
You know?
Mason, esoteric. I think he was a follower of what's her name now.
Blavatsky.
Right? Like he was on some levels, and now when you see him today, it's like you think of them as the most mundane, you know, proper. But he was on levels, not in any kind of negative way, but like esoteric. And now you talk to them about like that's why there's an undertone of their information that's kind of esoteric,
Yeah.
but none of their members today
No
really
way.
get into, you know what I mean? I mean, you ask them.
I think it's been perverted at this point, right?
Do you believe there's UFOs? Right? You don't really get into it. But he got into that stuff.
And the thing about everybody being added is in this right here. Because he's telling you that there's two levels of truth. There's truth that everybody accepts as facts and there's no denial about it. Then there's a divine truth that only a certain level of people are really gonna be
Yeah.
able to get. Because majority of people can't even get the truth, much less the divine truth, which is on a higher plateau, right? Just like, you know, Moorish Science Temple of America, and you don't hear Moorish Divine National Movement when you hear Moors talk. Only certain Moors you hear that from. Only certain Moors you hear Moorish Holy Temple of Science from. Only certain Moors you hear Noble Juali isn't actually the man, but that was a juridic person. And the man was actually Timothy Drew and Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali.
That's the triangle.
That was the man. And the triangle, right?
Yeah.
The three pillars.
That's right. Wow.
But if we're not looking at it on that level, because we were taught by agents and sellouts and infiltrators, sons, grandsons, daughters, then we're not going to get the full story. Which is why there's this quote unquote confusion in the Moorish movement, and that's people outside of the movement's favorite quote for why they don't join. How come you don't become part of the Moorish Science Temple? Oh no, there's too much confusion. The Moors don't even have their stuff together. And that's not even a legit statement.
Yeah, that's only a rationale.
You know what I mean?
It's already
And
in
a
the
weak one at that.
Yeah, because the Moors do have their stuff together. The Moors who are supposed to have it together.
It's those who are saying that don't have their stuff
they'll-
together.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
It's what you call transference.
Transference. Right.
Yeah, since we touched so many things, I just want us to be clarified when we talk about leaving the body when like Moors, I mean, when a Moor leaves the body, is it through cremation or through the regular way they bury? I met a so-called quote-unquote guru that made mention of so many things. And he talked about Jesus in India,
Yeah.
that he's still in some was buried or wherever in India, so it just opened up some certain things for you to understand and the way the Christian pastor. But my question is, what do the Moors choose here? Is it through cremations or through when you leave the body?
Being that this is indigenous practice, cremation would be superior. Because, like, okay, so, you know, you're gonna dig all these holes, bury these bodies or whatever, but people are still dying. And those bodies aren't deteriorated, and neither are those bones deteriorated. So, eventually you're gonna have 500 million cemeteries everywhere.
Exactly. We're gonna run out of space for sure.
Right, because
Long time.
what are you doing? You're not supposed to keep the, like, what are you doing?
Like
All that death is gonna spread. You know what I mean? As soon as rain falls, that's gonna be contaminated soil 500 miles that way. Water 500 miles that way.
Sure.
That's like with mummification.
And
when you're gone, you're gone. Like
Yeah,
you- it's like like mummification. They learned that it's not actually, it's a divine science to do it, but it wasn't done for no highly. It was actually them feeling because they're rich, they don't want to reincarnate poor, so they want to keep. They don't want to reincarnate, so they're trying to keep the physical here. So it's not cremated,
Right.
come back to reincarnate. It's actually an egotistical move, right? So, yeah.
Cause think about it, right? All the digging and stuff that they did in Egypt, right? And how much mummies did they pull up? Huh? A lot, right?
Yeah, but like,
Okay, were they common people or were they royalty?
I think there's they talk about Egyptian book of it. When
Royalty.
you go through that, majority of them are very wealthy.
Yeah.
All right.
Because the wealthy,
Exactly.
that happened according to
Okay,
the
so
money
where's
having in
all
your pocket.
so where's all the other people?
Yeah.
Where's all the other millions of people? Remember, don't forget, yo, there was a millions of people that helped the pharaohs build the pyramids, you know, because the slaves built the pyramids, right? So, where's all those people? Where's their bodies at? Because you tell me that they dug up all this sand all over here, and all they found were just tombs of mummified royalty? That's it? So what happened to everybody else? Or maybe those were the high people, and they astral projected.
Yeah.
And the idiots were the
Rich.
royalty.
Who are stuck in this level.
Who are stuck in
Like
this
riches, yeah.
physical, you know, build a gold pyramid.
You're probably more right.
So the world could see, you know, what we, right? But the common people, they were cremating each other.
Had to be.
Are you gonna
Had
keep?
to be.
Are you gonna keep
Sure.
somebody's like
And
yeah,
that's
you,
where- that's
just
where
like
the
the wake, yeah, the wake
that's where
you
the
keep the body
egotism-
around and you know you eat some food or whatever. But yo,
Let's move on, yeah. Yeah.
get those ashes, throw them in the sea, let's
There you
go.
go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, ancestors are still us. Because, yeah, you know, lady
Nobody.
down the street in the other tribe,
It's like
she just had a son.
And
That
it's
looks
right,
just
yeah,
like
and he's
my
exactly
Yeah.
doing the same stuff.
doing the same stuff,
Yeah,
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Wow, he even has his mannerism and he's
Yeah,
acting just
right,
like him,
right.
you know? But nobody's gonna
Wow, they
believe
got
in
us.
reincarnation and all
They
that.
got us. They got us. Left up, man.
And there's just common sense. Like you could look at stuff logically, or you could try to find a book to explain everything to you, and then you're wasting your time doing that.
Because most of those books are lies.
Right. That's more reason to go to your cellular memory. Because if you trust anybody, you trust yourself.
Better.
So at least you know, if you trust yourself, you should trust your cells and your organs and your everything
Well,
else.
that's why they say
But-
everything's within you.
Right.
Yeah, there was also a belief with the mummy system where once the soul leaves the body, it's able to communicate with the physical world if the body is in good condition. So that's why they mummified the body, and some people's philosophy on it, to preserve it for as long as they could preserve it.
Yeah.
So, you know, when they pull up mummies hundreds of years old or thousands of years old, they go, well, this, you could still see skin.
Yeah.
Right?
Fingernails and
Yeah, so the mindset for some of those that were believing in mummification was that if the body is in good condition and there's still flesh on it, then the person that's translated or in the spirit world
Yeah.
can communicate with the people in the earth through that body. But then,
Through
I said,
connection.
but then I said to myself, well, if you can communicate, you know, from the spirit world, why would you
Why
really
need
need
the
that
body?
body in the first place?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, the body is gonna decay at some point.
And then it
You
comes
can't
back
keep
to
it forever, it's gonna decay, and then what you're gonna say, well, I'm locked out of the earthen world, I can't speak to my, my later generations because I don't have a flesh. The whole thing about flesh is that this is what's holding us back from doing
That's right.
more.
That's right.
But that while we're here in it, we do as much as we can.
You can, yeah.
Right? So why hold on to a prison? Why come back to a prison if you're already free?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if someone lets you get let out of jail and you come back and say, well, you know, I need to make a phone call to my folks from here once in a while. Or they won't answer the phone, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? They only know the prison. If I don't call private from this location, they're not gonna pick up. Like,
Wow.
you know.
But then that like paradoxical thinking is really what people are on.
Yeah, it's
Because you see brothers going back to prison like
All the time.
seasonal.
like that's
Seasonal.
the thing to do, yo.
It's seasonal.
You know what I mean?
New season.
You know, like,
Yeah,
you
like
know
it's
what I
in
mean?
season, right? You know.
Did that answer your question?
So you know, it's
What was it?
You know, because
The question was, he was wondering whether it was cremation or burial.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, like I would say cremation,
How
just
about,
because you know what, to go through the whole body ritual is just mad. It's just a chair.
Just the
You
process.
put a
of
chair in a box and walk down the aisle,
Not
and
natural.
everybody's
even that the box is inexpensive.
20 G's. Right?
For some.
20
We're
G's.
talking about more than that. So by the
Right,
time you
plus the
funeral body,
tombstone.
I mean, for them, the funeral company or whatever, give their estimation. No, you're looking at close of $100,000.
It really drags it on. It drags it on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, like, you know, in economics, when you look at it, I mean, this is a body that is going to disintegrate anyway. So, but now we are talking about the spiritual implications.
That's
You
what I
have the
mean.
families that need the money, and then the funeral parlors like us walking in the house.
Yes.
Yes.
Might have some.
Yeah, my aunt worked, her first job was in cemetery, and like she always tells the stories about how they own the bodies. It's a war thing. It's like countries are looking to buy dead bodies. It's a
Salvage
business.
dead parts.
It's a merchandise. It's a piece of product because each body has a whole heap of organs that can be used to donate and all kind of stuff. That's why in the Congo and all this stuff, they're even fighting over who has claims to the dead bodies. Because big.
Exactly, they're
So-
harvesting.
Right. So
They're
what?
over there.
Organ
Right.
harvest. So in the cemeteries,
That's
there's an
what's happening
underlying.
here though too as well.
Yeah, there's an underlying business in the cemeteries going on where they're actually night times or certain different times you go, they'll dig up. They're digging up. They dig up your thing and they take organs. You never know what's going on, and they make it. It's a money making business. And it's about property. So that's why they want you to bring your dead carcass onto their parking lot, their company. You know what I mean? Like, you can just bury it in any bush, right? But they want you to bring it to their
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
To
Just like,
give you rights to the.
just like to interject, man, just
Yeah,
like in
man.
Brazil.
Yeah.
Just like in Brazil, you better watch out who you're gonna be sleeping with. You might end up losing an organ or something.
Yeah, man.
That happens a lot over there.
You wake up and you have a
Wake
cut.
up and you have a cut.
You're like, yo.
Yeah.
You wake up in
Huge business.
wake up in a tub of ice.
Huge business.
Yeah.
Huge
Yeah.
business.
I can verify what it
Yes.
is. I can verify what it is.
So restart.
I had an uncle.
Oh, this
who died.
I can relate to that.
Okay.
It's
Ooh, that
money
movie.
making. I had an uncle.
I don't even
want
wanna watch it now. In Toronto.
The guy, they took the body, like, you know, they were visiting the family. They want to visit. No, there's no time to visit. So they removed some parts of the body that, you know, people at that time they are mourning and crying.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to your mind. It's
Right.
happening.
Right.
Right.
But each time they go, no time to visit, they're going to dress, they're going to do this. So what is going on?
Right.
Yeah.
No, not
So
now.
I cannot relate to that.
Yeah. It drags out the whole
Dude,
money
Jack and
period.
organs.
Yes.
Islam, shake.
Mike did it.
Funeral home is making money, and I could verify what Adisa is saying. I had a cousin. He passed on in Texas, lost his life in Texas, and not even 6 months after that, my family found parts of his brain in a Jewish lab somewhere in Europe. They got word and they found out through links that they had his brain, parts of his brain in a Jewish lab in Europe. They're all doing experiments on his brain.
Dude,
And he lost
hey,
his life in Texas.
there was a big thing in New York.
Right.
A bunch of rabbis got arrested for
Oh, yes.
for organ harvesting,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
On a very highly organized level,
Yeah.
man.
You know that thing where they say if you don't
Taking
call,
bombs off the shit.
you know this thing where they say if you don't call this number and say that you don't want those people calling your house to sell you stuff, what they call telemarketing. Yeah, if you don't call this number, the telemarketers will call your house. But as long as you call that number and say you don't want them calling, they'll take you off their list, right? Well, there's something with the corporations who set this whole thing up and say, well, if you don't sign this form saying you don't want, when you pass on, your organs to be donated for science, then they're gonna automatically take your organs out to use for science.
And they're still doing it.
They didn't
with
make
or
a big
without.
announcement of it, they just
Right.
put it out there and took it back quick, but it is actually operational right now, where if you don't sign something to say that
Don't.
You don't-
sell
but isn't
the
that-
organ,
do that?
Yeah, they're gonna
Okay.
do it.
they'll do it.
Yeah,
On
they're
getting the
still-
health
they're
card,
still
for
doing it,
instance,
yeah. They're still
on
doing
getting
it.
your health card, there's a form that is attached to it that it asks you, do you want to be a donor, yes or no?
Yeah, it's true. That's true. Yeah, it's true.
I don't even know.
Because I remember getting my
Wow.
yeah.
And they ask you, do you want to be a donor, yes or no?
At the same time, all those people is property.
Yeah, that's what
yeah,
I was
well,
saying.
yes,
That's the
right.
value of being a Moor. You
Right.
don't have to go through all that because you're gonna have your own paperwork to say, well, this is not your property.
To be honest,
Right.
I know the mosques operate like that. I don't know if all of them, but I know they're very strict on the bodies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like very strict.
Even a
They're like,
toenail,
nope.
my friend. Even
They're
a
like,
toenail,
nope.
bro.
And
You know,
they're
a piece of
mosque.
your hair.
They say no.
Has to be
We
covered.
bury our dead, or we deal with our
And they
dead.
just put you in a little wood box. That's
They
it.
cremate you, right?
A little wood box. That's
Right.
it, man.
But because I know I grew up in Rasta and we didn't deal with that at all, right?
That's another way of
So
saying
when
kosher.
hearing the Muslim was teaching me, he's telling me how they do it in the mosque. First I was a little like ill, but then it made sense because it's about having control so that they don't take them and do whatever with them. Next thing you know, you see your brethren Muhammad's alive and you're like, and he's like, you know, a machine right now. You know what I'm saying? And you never know.
Yeah, because it's kind of like when people say kosher, you know? Certain culture takes it seriously. They do things kosher, means they do it properly according to their ways of cleanliness and stuff, because I read a fact recently that this thing with the blood and the wine, this is my blood, drink, this is my blood that I shed for you, there's actually some fact in that. In ancient times, and I'm sure people probably still do it now, in order to mature wine like faster than it would normally mature, they would actually put blood inside the wine. And this is why, part of why, among other things, this kosher thing came up to say, well, we're not going to do that. We're doing things proper. You know, we're not going to that nastiness. Where the blood come from? A human, an animal? Where does the blood come from? But that used to mature wine.
That's right.
Faster than it would, like how they force growing like stuff on the market now. So with the dead, you know, everybody wants to be alive. Nobody wants to make plans for that passing, but it's always good to make plans for that passing.
Yes, man.
So that it's all arranged and you don't get scooped up
Right.
in the middle of the night.
Or you don't have an unsettled energy.
Right,
'Cause
right.
Life is a continuous flow.
Right,
You don't
right.
go with it. You don't accept the flow.
And you're grieving.
You grieve,
Yeah,
you
grieving.
mourn, you'll be stuck in that blockage till you do it.
Well, and next thing too with that, with like burying your dead or burying your own, as whether you know or not, like in the Jewish community, when their people is dead, like they want everything. If you shoot a Jew, chop him up, whatever, and his blood is spilled, they come with a mop.
Yeah.
They mop up the blood.
Yeah.
They take everything.
Everything.
They try anything they can take, every little speck they can take, they take.
See.
And that's ours. All of that is our people. So
And then make it clear too. Make
yeah,
that clear.
like that
About
is
property.
yeah, that's ours.
Like you own yourself, you know what I mean? Like, or
That belongs to our
ours is,
nation.
yeah, that's right.
So yeah,
And that,
You don't
that
wanna
goes to, again, nationality, right?
exactly.
Yeah, you know your nationality. Yeah. You know, you prepare,
Come claim you.
you don't need a middleman, you know? You have property, and you know what you want to do with it, then you write up your affidavit and that's it. If you're an impropriate persona, can't nobody step to that.
And
That's what it's supposed to be, so that, you know what I mean, people are gonna wake up, and when people wake up, and people in general decide, well, okay, you know what, you know, the money thing is, you know, sorry, you know, we maybe we need a different system, and this is kind of harsh, and all the interest and money and owning property, let's all just share the planet and share the wealth. But it's not there yet. If it's not there, how are you just gonna let people take your stuff?
True.
And believe you me, when you pass on, if you don't say what institution that this body is from, like maybe religion or anything like that, they're gonna look at your parents' religion, right? And if you don't have the financial backing to take care of the body, the government will take care of it. So if my great grandmother is like a Church of England, and nobody knows that, you know, I'm of the Moorish Science Temple, nothing on record, for public record, nothing to find, they're just the Church of England is gonna claim my body and do whatever they want to do with it.
That's happened in Rasta. Dead on the hill and on the hills and stuff like that. And then when the man dead, it's like man was like, and they come and just take the body up and gone. No one had everyone had all the talk for everything else. When it came to that,
Yeah.
no one knew anything.
I mean, shouldn't that be a part of our education?
It happened to the
Why
high
leave
priest.
some out, the most important
Everyone
parts out,
does it.
just put like little stuff you could just get on
Expect mama and dad.
Expecting him to
Yeah.
raise from the
Yeah.
dead, that's why.
You know what I mean? Like, that's so important. Like, they just make it seem like so casual how you come in and how you go out. Like, it's like you're here, okay, and you're gone, okay. But there's so many things that goes on when you get here that you might not know about. You know, your family might celebrate and do a big celebration or a small celebration, but that's not all there is to it. The powers that be have something to do with what's going on, regardless of whether you know it or not. And if you don't take responsibility for the going out, then they're there as well. They're monitoring you when you come in, they're monitoring
That's
you
right.
while you're here,
That's right.
they're monitoring when you go out.
Or they're taking
I'm not
possession of
surprised
it.
if they're
taking
monitoring
possession.
you beyond even that. Actually, they are, but it's just they just don't have that
They can't
control
have
of
the
it.
control,
They just can't
yeah.
put borders around it like
That's
an
right.
electric fence and you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so can
It's
leave it
like
all
it's not it's really simple to understand, but there's a lot of busy people out there about you that you don't know about
Yeah.
if you don't get on your knowledge and get to know yourself, you know what I mean, and learn about this stuff.
So, what are the precautions more should take? Like, well, in regard to this, it's good for us to talk about it.
Yes,
So,
it is.
what are the guidelines? Apart from our nationality claim, so now something happened within the organizations. So what is the guidelines? What are the set down rules?
I would say that we're doing what we're supposed to do. First thing, have a nationality. As where the Moorish movement is currently, I don't know, like, if, you know, what could there be more than that? Like, it's now up to us who are in these positions, who are in this knowledge, to get us into those positions where we're a nation. Like, this is our land, we're recognized, we're involved in governmental things, and when a Moor is in Australia and something happens, the word gotta come back to us that, and we gotta send someone to go deal with that, or whatever. There's got to be community. It's the same thing. If you watch the news, you see, oh, bus crash in Egypt, 5 Canadians aboard. You know what I'm saying? Canadian government gets involved and they is bring the involved bodies in back. that.
That's where we have to get to.
Yeah.
Like, right now, we're doing what we're supposed to do. You know, you clear your nationality, and then those who is active in it is trying to bring it to that. So,
That's what we're talking about, you know, like with regard to, you know, like us coming together and everybody coming together and all that, like, you're seeing things, you know, like,
5, 10, 20 years down the
yeah,
line.
yeah, like,
80 years down the line.
yeah.
Because you're, you know, like, people who are coming in now are coming in on the perspective of, you know, they already know about esoteric and metaphysics and chematology and astrology, and they already know these things already, right? Like, this is the only thing that we're lacking in our studies, the Moorish paradigm.
That's right.
Anybody coming in, even if it's a dead person,
Professor, even.
you know what I mean? Like,
Well, I think what I see it as being is it's taking that knowledge that we have, which has somewhat been perverted, and then having this knowledge come into that and straightening everything out. Right? Because some of the sciences we know, but a lot of that stuff has been changed.
yeah, well, but that doesn't change the
Actually,
essence of it.
yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
it's like even with the question of, you know, where are we supposed to, like, this is 90, like, we're 80 years behind. We're like 99 years behind.
Yeah.
Not us, because it wasn't really us.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, people subverted the movement.
You're saying that the movement has been
Right.
slowed up.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't get rid of it, but they definitely slowed it down.
Yeah.
You know, like, drastically slowed it down. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about, you know, millions of members to, like Prophet said, the membership's gonna dwindle down to a handful. But don't worry, keep the doors open, because when I open up the floodgates, like, you're gonna need 10 secretaries to write down all the names.
Yeah, it's coming.
Right, so it's coming, right? The pendulum is coming, swinging back,
Yeah.
but it hasn't swung back yet. So until then, most we can do is, you know, just like Prophet said,
Keep the
if
fire
you're ready,
going.
stay ready. If you're not ready, get ready.
Yeah.
You know something too, even back in that time, there was no governmental organization that would say that the Moorish Science Temple was illegal. There was no one that could say that it was illegal. The CIA and all those people, they investigated it because it seemed that the claim was made that we're Asiatics and there was a war with Japan at the time. they investigated to see
They were looking to see if
we were
connected.
allied
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah, I
Japan.
remember that, yeah.
And then all they had like hundreds of chapters written like on just what they saw, what they were recording and so on. And they just
They're always
backed
looking
off and said,
for-
well, no, these guys aren't terrorists.
They're not,
The argument wasn't that these
what
people
they've
are
taken.
crazy or that they shouldn't be practicing what they're
So they're
practicing.
always gonna be coming with something. Then it was that.
Mhm.
Now is be careful with saying this free man sovereignty thing, because you know what I'm saying. Now that's what they're trying to trick you into, to take you out of being a Moor, like you know,
Free
like
man sovereignty.
yeah.
That's just coming out of pressure on
It's
themselves.
a Moor is sovereign, but
Mhm.
it's all in how and who and certain other things that you know what I'm saying. Like where the Moorish movement is not this free man on the land sovereignty stuff. So don't get caught into that and they're gonna try and trick you to make you say that that's what you are, even though you may say, oh, I'm a Moor, and then they keep questioning you. They actually came questions 10 times until you change your answer. And you know what I'm saying? They reword it 10 times till you say, okay, yeah, I'll go with that one. When you just have to stand your square. What you already said.
But what is the free man sovereignty? What is, I guess?
Yeah, it's nothing.
It's just a whole nother jurisdictional thing.
They have
that
no treaty.
they will have
They
jurisdiction
have no treaty,
over.
it's just it's gibberish.
So
There's no such thing as a sovereign citizen.
To answer the question,
contradicts
there's
itself.
you never seen any like European on there about free man in the land or the sovereignty movement or
We've heard something.
so it's a lot of the information in terms of like talking about how the government is an illegal government and fraud. They're just Europeans on it, and they got fiat backing them.
But they have no treaty. They have no treaties or no paperwork.
They're trying to
or no
connect
actual-
themselves. They're trying to connect themselves to some claim.
Well,
Trust law, it's some trust law
They're
nonsense.
they're exposing the fraud,
Right.
yeah,
They're not trying. They're on it.
Yeah.
and they're on it.
But it doesn't stand in
But
Supreme Court,
they have
right?
no standing.
It don't,
Right.
it don't stand,
Well,
it has no real grounding.
They have standing because their
Exposing the fraud.
their nation mate
Yeah.
is the judge.
Right.
exactly.
So
The
this-
officer that pulls him over and says, "Here, let me see your license," and he says, "Oh, I don't have a license. I travel," and gives him paperwork. That's more likely European.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna put it out there again. Somebody go on YouTube and find me, cause I know Moors that are active, right? So, like I know Moors that have their right to travel pass, and they don't have licenses and stuff like that, and that's what they use. I know Moors that have paperwork, and paperwork is what they use. How come there's no YouTube stuff of Moors getting stopped by police, getting asked for their papers?
True.
How come there's only Europeans just recording this stuff? It's only Europeans you're seeing. Man has a cardboard license plate. Yeah, well, I'm gonna exercise my right to travel today, so we're gonna see how this works. And then the man goes driving out, gets stopped. You know what I mean? It might be a little whatever, but eventually, you know, it's nothing. The
Yeah,
officer
he
says,
drives
you know what,
off.
forget this shit. I don't want to deal with this guy, and he goes about his business. But it's only Europeans.
Still the favoritism, still privileges.
But even with those now, there's a counterintelligence thing where they're actually trying to clamp down on that now because I guess it's frustrating them because sometimes they go in and they say what they say and they get away with whatever they did or they didn't do, and the cops are wondering now what's going on, what do we do? So what they're doing is now to cut down on some of the frustration is, you know what, arrest, if not all of them, arrest some of them.
Yeah.
And just try and get them to say, and then you got bing, this buzzword here, sovereign, bing, this one saying, I'm the agent of so-and-so,
Yeah.
bing, and
They
as
study
soon as you
that.
get them to say this buzzword, slap the cuffs on them,
They study that.
slam them in the car,
So if you,
lock them up in a cell, you know? But I mean, it goes to show you that what's being done by the so-called sovereign is not really genuine either.
Right.
Right? But the government has to make their stand to say, well, you know something,
We won't tolerate that.
yeah, lock them up because we don't want people who, the real indigenous standing up,
Yeah.
right? Out of getting confidence from seeing the fake
Yeah.
one standing.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know what I'm
And
saying?
it's not- and-
So what we put out there is a media, and media is what's controlling the minds.
Yeah, of course.
So if we put that in the minds of the people who might think to stand up, knowing that they're indigenous, that, you know what,
Might
this could happen to them
the
too,
right thing.
maybe we might kill some of their, you know,
spunk.
their spunk or their zeal, right? Yeah.
And then it's like if allowing people to be so-called free on the land over a long period of time, like that's evidence to bring to international
Of course,
criminal court,
it's called the paper trail.
right? Against the government
Of course.
allowing it,
That's right.
not against like those guys, but against the government allowing it. And like people are being brought to ICC, like ICC, like they've been sitting around for about 10 years, but like just with that
ICC
past
immigration.
Yeah.
International Court of Criminal Court.
Okay.
The Hague.
And that's why I said
Yeah.
part of
So
it
now
is
these guys are,
them on
these guys are, you know what I mean?
something.
They're revving up the engine now.
Mhm.
The
But they're under
ICC
pressure.
is,
Yeah.
so people are gonna be in the ICC. People are gonna be tried, and even before you even get tried, like, you know what I mean? People could have liens put on them. People things like, if you know yourself as a natural person, you can do all kind of stuff to a so-called quasi-governmental body corporation, right? That's allowing things that it's not supposed to allow,
And doing it, it's not supposed to
and
do.
doing things that it's not supposed to do, right? So,
Right, for example, right, like doing things that they're not supposed to do. So, Article 3, Section 1 of the Constitution says the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court, and in such inferior courts as Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges both of the Supreme and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance of office. So the only court is supposed to be the Supreme Court. And anything else is quasi-court. And if it's quasi-court, then, you know, you shouldn't be dealing with it anyways. That's why when you go to it, you send your paperwork and all that stuff to create your paper trail so you could sue later. Because those are quasi-courts, which aren't really courts, it's just businesses trying to pretend like they're courts, which is racketeering, which means that you could sue somebody for racketeering.
So can you bring your paperwork in, or you send it before you actually go in?
Send it, yeah, because you have to send a registered mail to create that paper trail that you sent it to them,
They got it.
and that they got it.
Somewhat like your traveling papers to them?
No, like whatever your
Whatever
whatever
your
your
case is about,
situation,
case is about.
whatever your case is about,
Right.
you would send a writ of discovery to the court, asking them certain things which they're not gonna answer, because you're just playing along with the game because
So like,
you know that they're corporate.
so like an affidavit of truth or something like that?
So yeah, to that effect, right?
Okay.
As in with all these filings of papers, where I've now come, what I'm thinking now is important piece that as a more, we should always have the two important documents is the treaty, because the treaty number one, because the treaty is an agreement between us and them. Therefore, it's kind of laws that we have to abide by. That's what the treaty is. The Constitution is, like we say, it's not, it's the rights you already have, and it's something that they have to live by. Like that's a second contract that's contracting them. It's not contracting you. You know what I'm saying? It's upholding you. So,
Preserving your rights.
as in what is the laws, those are the two documents of law. Anything else, really, you covered yourself right there. Like, I don't see you, yeah, you could submit your right to travel if it was something to do with your traveling, where they're trying to say you're driving or whatever, depending, you'll have a claim of right or a writ to whatever situation you're in, and you would have that writ made out for that situation, whether it's power of attorney, whatever it may be.
Oh yeah, and and the writs are on rvbaypublications.com under writs of freedoms. That's one place where you could find all the writs, whatever writ you need for whatever. And moorishpublicrecords.com. So those two sites have the writs for whatever situation that you're dealing with, and you need a guideline as to how to write to those people.
Yeah.
You know, with regard to your situation, you know, templates, right? That's where you get all that stuff there.
Just repeat it one more time.
Moorish Public Records. So if you just go to Moorish Public Records, the site pops up, and then it'll just give you different drop-down boxes, and just click them, and like, you know, everything's right there.
Yeah. Whatever you're involved in.
On the Moorish Public Records site though, it's set up as PDF file. Right? And then it's set up on PDF file so that you can download it, and then you can rewrite. You can rewrite your writs. Right? But that's not just you just rewriting writs. Like the person who set up the site, from what we're being told, the person who set up the site like that so you can study while you're writing your writs.
Yeah.
Because you have to convert it from PDF. You can't just switch it like a Word document.
Yeah.
Right? On RV Bay Publications, it's just Word documents. That you just click it, you download it, open it up on your computer, and then you can change it. You can change the name and all that stuff on the document itself without having to retype everything over again.
Retyping is good.
Right?
Keep-
Yeah, but we suggest go to the Moorish Public Records one so you can retype it again. So that way it becomes something, it's practice for you, right? Opposed to cut and paste.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with these type of things, you want to know everything what you're claiming. You know what I mean? Like if there's a law that you quote in there, know that law. Because at some point you're gonna get tested on this, right? Like, so, yeah, you're gonna have to know it. You should know it. It will make you stand there more boldly, more strongly. Like you'll feel, you know what I mean? It's not somebody told me. This person didn't tell me that Constitutional Act 3 says this, and whatever it says, and then I just run around saying Constitutional Act 3 said this. I actually heard it say it, went and found the Constitutional Act 3 and read it for myself. And know that this is the law. And know, and you know what I'm saying? And maybe even more as I read it, maybe there's more words in there which I had to go through my Black's Law Dictionary to make sure I know everything of what I'm saying.
Right.
So it's always got to do with your study.
I think the next thing is always to make sure you get one of those dictionaries too, an old dictionary, right?
Yeah.
Like before I
Hey, can I get a glass of juice?
I remember this questions. So we coming up on malls. Where do we? I see people go to pilgrimages. I know we've been here 100 years. The Moors philosophy has been here for so many years. Now the Caucasians have been there, and everything has been confused. So now if we say, okay, we're going for a pilgrimage, well, where is our pilgrimage area? Where will we go? At least it's this that seeing is believing, you feel you touch and all that people do.
Yeah.
So
like going to Mecca.
where do we go? Like where we are going to the United States. Where do we go to see all these
Right here,
informations? No, I'm just asking.
You know,
Correct.
that's a good thing.
You know?
And, maybe.
So we have a bus load, we're
We
going
can-
all over the place for us to see.
We went to Old City Hall the other day. And
How we
remember
started.
man, when we saw those symbols? Remember that? That was like an outing, man.
Okay, we can start.
Because it's all embedded in
We
their
can make
architecture,
it-
our culture,
We
you
can
know,
take
right?
certain
Our culture's
times
embedded in
and
their
align
architecture, don't you?
pilgrimage or celebrations with those times, like
Right.
the equinox.
Well, on
Because
that
it's our,
question,
we're the originators of
I
it.
had asked a couple of weeks ago, why don't we set up a trip that we go somewhere?
I would say we keep it in Canada.
Well,
as
No, everything started in the States, you know?
we ain't gotta go. We're here.
Well, this is 1930, so we want to know that, you know, this is the drill, this is where the master, his footprints, this is where he went, this is what he did. You know, this is where the archives are, you know, things like that, so that now we are knowing what it is, like when Christians want to go to Jerusalem, they want to go here, they want to go there.
Look at you talking, Tony. Look at you.
My interception, man. Intercepted my almond stash, eh?
Okay, for example, just like we're saying, right? If that's something that we want to do, then we can do that.
Yeah, I believe
Like we don't have a pilgrimage place. Because everything's ours.
Thank you. Exactly. Thank you.
The whole globe. And
Those people have a pilgrimage place because they don't have anything. They have to find somewhere to go to.
One spot.
I'll say this.
There's no one spot.
There's
Just like Brother said, if we go to City Hall, that's pilgrimage.
it is though. This is everything of their grand feats have been taught to them from us.
If we go to,
So it's a reflection of our history in their
wherever
architecture.
we go.
That's right.
But who's gonna tell you that?
I am.
That's a good answer.
I'll keep it real.
That's a good answer.
That's what I thought.
In fact, man, I would get off on being able to tell one of them that. I love telling them that kind of stuff. You don't even know, man. Like, I have fun. I have fun with this, yo. You don't even know. I love it.
It's like,
But it's real because the thing is, it's like,
there's a mound. There's a mound at Bellamy and Lawrence.
Yeah.
Just above Lawrence, on Bellamy, there's a
Yeah,
mound.
yeah, yeah.
Above Lawrence on the
park.
yeah, there's a mound. They got at the top. They got some stone and
It's like the northeast
and
side
another
of it.
thing written on it. Yeah, northeast side of Bellamy.
Even around Hyde Park.
There's a mound.
Even around Hyde Park, there's mounds.
The Indian mound, whatever they
yeah.
call the tribe, Al something. So if you want some spiritual connections, there's a place right there to go to meditate.
Oh,
If you want to
Already.
start some type of thing, pilgrimage or some type of gathering or whatever, some place to go.
We have to
pay
stop
some
feeling like
homage.
foreigners in our own land. This is the whole objective, though. You know, we feel like,
He's right, though.
no, it's not his fault.
No,
This
but
is the
you're right.
programming. This is a result of the
You're damn right.
programming,
You're
man.
damn right.
whatever we need to substantiate, we could substantiate it right here. You know, we have like master builders among us too. You know, there's
Sure.
a good friend of mine named Garfield Minot. He's a virgin, he's a Moor. And he'll build something for us. He will build something for us that will be a monument for future generations to look at as a benchmark to say that we were here. You know, we could, whatever we need to do, we could do it right here. You know, we don't gotta be like some airlines make deals with the government to have stuff put here, there, and here, and everywhere, so people can travel and then make their pockets fat. You know what I mean? You got Ashra Kwesi, takes people to Egypt, but then where it's applicable, there might be artifacts in the museum here that he might take them to, or he might go to the royal, to the museum like in England or wherever. It's really up to us, and if we're here, why not set something here? You know, everything else everything else for us right now is either history or prehistory, right? And we can't leave ourselves out because we are doing our thing. We could be considered as history, walking, talking, living, breathing history right here. You know, there's all the prehistoric stuff that people can say, well, if then, but I wonder if it was those guys, or what if we put something up right now, we know who did it. We know who it belongs to. There's no if, buts, or whatever. We can write. You know, we can put the books out. People can come and visit. You know, we have builders among us, and that are talking about doing stuff. So
Let me tell you a secret.
that's a very good question.
Right?
That
Let
you
me tell you a
asked.
secret. See how we're saying that, you know, we need to have a pilgrimage place, right, where we can go to, right? Tell you a secret. Every 2 days or so, I get an email from Adiza, right? Canaanland web's response. And this is people who aren't from Canada that are outside there that are messaging our website to find out about, you know, nationality and no neutrality because they can't find it where they're at.
In the state.
In the States.
These
From
realistically,
California,
1, 2, or 3 a
Ohio,
week.
Tennessee, Arizona, Arkansas,
Mississippi,
Delaware, Mississippi,
everywhere.
Indiana,
Everywhere.
You name a state,
Everywhere.
we got an email from one person.
Cities where I
In
never
every
heard
state.
the name before, like, huh? There's a Canadian, there's a city named Canadian.
With a different
Yeah.
accent.
And I was like, huh?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it a one man? Yeah.
One-man
That's
board,
feel like I
one
was
board,
listening
so.
to the radio the other day. There was
Like a one-man.
a guy somewhere in the States, I can't remember where it was. He's the only person in the whole town. He's the mayor, he's the postmaster, and he's selling.
He's the man.
It's online
Yeah, the
right
town's
now.
for sale, right?
It's for sale. It's
Yeah.
online right now. Highest bidder. You gotta put up like 100,000, and then everybody's
Yeah.
bidding after that. And it's a one-man spot. And he's like,
One-man.
you're like, cause the dude called him, was interviewing him on the paper. He's like, so you got a school? And he's like, yeah. And he makes a joke like, oh, I bet that's where you do all your governmental stuff. And he's like, as a matter of fact, it is. Like, yeah, I'm the only man in the school. I got my desk, my cabinet, and I run the town. I got a gas station. I got the post office is boarded up because he said when he first came there was like 16 people, and then they all left. It's just him. And they said the last 2 people was him and his son. And then his son was like always in argument with him, and his son said, then he told his son, well, if you don't like it, you can vote. And then his son's like, well, it'll always be a tie. And his dad's like, no, seniority always wins. So his son broke.
Some bad politics there. I'm older than you, I win.
But then in reality, that's the real
Exactly.
That's the real claim.
Yeah.
Because what we saying, what we're saying, we're here before everybody. So like it's our stuff. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah.
It's
Seniority.
the exact same claim, seniority.
But it's not only us saying it, they have said it too, they know it, so.
They know it, but
They
the
put it
process-
in official documents,
Right.
and so it's not like we're saying it.
Right.
It's a common
It's a
known truth.
common known thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Right.
But the
Right?
thing
No,
that-
but the only problem is that Negro black
They're
colored
perpetrating
people.
the fraud, yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Huh?
The problem is Negro black colored
Yeah.
people don't know.
They don't know.
One thing to consider. Look at Quebec. Look at reference the
The
separate
referendum, yeah.
You know the real reason why they can't separate?
No, their land.
They don't want their land.
No, it's not their land.
Didn't you see the natives? Did the natives do something there, Oka or something? In
It's
'86,
not the
they
Quebec's land.
they had their machine guns. They locked off the Mercier Bridge.
If they did,
Yeah.
if they made a new nation, Quebec, new nation, like in the UN,
And on top of that,
then the whole fraud would
the
be.
next problem with that is Canada has no status.
That's right.
There's no status
In
here. There's no.
24, I wish I kept it. In the the newspaper, the 24
Yeah.
page or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just during last week, there was a little something how what's the dictator there?
Where?
Syria or?
The Cuba.
Oh.
Fidel, Castro.
Fidel made a comment, so the headline is
Oh, yeah,
Fidel
yeah.
something
Did he say
about,
something about war?
about Harper. No, this is what he said.
Right.
So he's talked this whole thing, and then in it he says Canada, because there's right now the summit of the Americas is
Yeah.
going on.
Right.
And he's not, Cuba's not invited.
Go and get invited. That's
Yeah,
right.
they're not allowed to come.
And Venezuela
So then
and
he
a bu-
said,
yeah.
so then he says, Canada still hasn't nobody knows what Canada is.
It's a
Is
commonwealth,
Canada a colony? Is it
Well, he said he did it.
when did Canada succeed into the United States of
Well, I never heard
America?
this man
He
talk about
said he calls it all out. Yeah, so they're a colony. Are they this? Are they this? He's like, it's unclear what Canada is.
Where could I find
Yeah,
it?
Crown land.
The
There's
24th,
crown land.
just
Yeah,
like
but that's
just a couple
what it
days
is,
ago.
though.
I
It's
wish I
crown
could-
Yeah, it's
Like it was our crown land.
That's what I said. It's what
Is this a
colony-
kingdom? Is this a, what is this?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Is
You're
it a
asking.
colony? Is it this? Is
It's
it
colony,
that?
a
It's
commonwealth?
not part of the
They
United
set up-
States of
they set up a
America.
colony,
Like,
right?
They didn't
And
succeed
then
into that.
over
So
time,
who are they?
right? What
Yeah,
happened was
they're at this summit and we're not. And then he says how funny thing though is Barack will probably be there, and he mentioned some shirt that Cubans wear. I can't remember the name.
Poncho, whatever.
The traditional.
Some funny name, and he's like, I bet you Barack will show up in one of those shirts though.
Yeah.
That would be the funny thing. We're not there yet. Your president is rocking our gear.
Exactly.
At the thing, yeah.
At the thing, yeah, at the summit.
What were you gonna say?
But if you really want to know what it is okay. Before before the Reconstruction period, right? Canada was a colony.
13th colony, right?
Maybe.
No, Canada was a colony
Oh.
of Great Britain,
Yeah.
right? Well, after America had already been established by people who came together and said, yeah, we want our own country. Meanwhile, you still have this colony, and you have these people called loyalists who fought so that they can have a colony for whatever reason, right? Cut kickbacks, right? So then, after Reconstruction now, what happens is you have Moors in Canada who know who they are, right? But you have this Reconstruction period happening in the States, taking the rights of Moors away. Whereas Moors who knew who they are in Canada, it's just a colony. So if you know who you are and you're indigenous, like if there's a colony, right, in so-called Nigeria, right? So people come, English people come, but you know you're a chief and you maintain your status. Then you still have your status, don't you? Like, yeah, the poor people or whatever are being abused, but if you're a chief, you still have your status. So people who knew who they are in Canada, they had to figure out a way to deal with those people, right? So after Reconstruction, they started to do certain things. I know,
Sidestream
my
them.
family was here,
Right?
right? And then after Reconstruction, they said, okay, well, instead of all that, instead of just trying to fight them, let's turn Canada into a country. So-called. Let's turn it into a nation. Not the Canadian people, not people living here, but people in England saying, okay, let's just,
Just make it this bureaucratic.
right? Because why would you give people in your colony their own country?
Yeah.
That doesn't make that's never happened in history, right? So they created this thing called a dominion, right? Which
Yeah.
Eventually and slowly over time, people just thought, well, Canada's just another country.
It's not.
It's just a region of where
The Americas.
They pay attention to the Queen, right?
It's still incorporated though too, right? Because it is on the Security Exchange Commission and all that. It's probably a product of the Hudson Bay or the British Hudson Bay Company. That's all this is.
That's where their land, like.
Because that's what they used to use this place for, right?
It
Was
was
for-
so you can expand it.
That's why the
and
Constitution.
for the pelts and for the resources. That's it,
So-called,
right?
yeah.
That's why the Constitution Act comes from the British
British North American Act.
Constitution. Yeah, the British North American Act.
And that's when we were the 13th colony of North America, right?
No,
Not
13 colonies
necessarily.
came.
Okay.
Yeah, the 13 colonies were
They came
foreign.
over.
Okay.
On the sea.
You know when they say a picture paints 1,000 words, if you attended court for whatever reason, when the lawyers come in, they all bow to a symbol on the wall, right behind the judge's, above the judge's seat. The lion and the unicorn, that is the British or the Great Britain symbol, right?
And it says Admari
And then-
Uske
and then
Admari
that's
from
to
coast
show
to
you
coast,
who
yeah.
they're bowing to, because that is like the queen, the presence of the queen right there.
even
And then you have
in
this
the-
governor general thing, right? That is an officer of the queen, right?
And the governor
So
general.
it's a representative of the Queen. And they absolved Parliament, if you guys remember. They absolved.
That's their.
Without the Canadians' so-called democratic vote,
That's
they
the
decided, one man decided to absolve our whole
You
Parliament.
can do that. That's
But
the power
then
of
if
the
you know
general.
your status.
So that's a
you know-
proof of that we don't have independence. That's a proof that we
Yeah,
are
but
still a
that's
colony and
how
a
we go.
commonwealth.
If you know your status,
Right.
then you know right?
Canada.
Your potential of being here,
Right.
as opposed to being anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you're indigenous here, people don't even, like people who are running our fraud.
But it's like you said,
are-
brother.
Like they can't like.
But it's like
you're
you
running
said.
a fraud,
Yeah.
right? In
Yeah.
a place that has no so-called
Right.
middleman nation.
But it's like you
the
said.
United States of America.
It's like you said.
Republic.
You said they decided what to do, so they put these indigenous
Right.
people in subjugated,
So-
side streamed them from society, put them in their own little hubs, in
Yeah,
their
but
own
if-
land bubbles to keep them out of
Right.
their business.
Right. So
right?
if you
So-
you have a colony,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then you decide one day for reasons of your neighbors, right?
Yeah.
To keep in step with them, to give the people in the colony more stuff. Now because you just gave them more stuff, now you're backtracking now, and you'll forever be backtracking. Even if you take one step and you're in that one step for 100 years, your momentum is backwards.
Oh yeah.
Your momentum is can never be forward because you just gave up. You just gave them a free blow. For other reasons.
You know,
But regardless, you just gave something up. Why would you give something up? You're a colonizer. Go and colonize and conquer, but they couldn't because they had to be in step with the United States, who had to do what they had to do because of the South, right? And there are Moors here. There are always Moors here, right? Remember, Great Lakes region, like we created the Great Lakes. Taj will tell you that, right? And why would Moors not be near the St. Lawrence? Like, look at the continent. Like, when we're doing trade, why would we not
Of course.
be set up in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and then go to New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and who's there? Pure Moors.
Pure Moors. Even the native tribes in Nova
Okay, I
Scotia.
just want to know. So when you're talking about pure Moors, you're talking about the native Indians. I mean, the so-called natives.
Well, yeah, they
that
came
are
out of us.
claiming because they
Came out
also
of
have
real
their
Moors,
rights.
right?
Like when you.
No, they don't have no rights.
they don't.
But they said
But they have a card that says that they're
Yeah, we're
Indian.
not talking about them.
They're
Talk about it.
They have a card. They have a card that says that they're Indian, so they're not included in Moore's discussion.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, because they're
They're included. If they want to be included, they could be included.
Yeah.
But they're gonna have to correct their status. They can't come in here
But
talking
what's
about
happened is
we're Indians.
what's happened is
Wait a minute.
they bought them off.
How would they correct? I mean, who is going to let them know this is they're going to?
They know, their chiefs know this stuff. Come on.
Their chiefs.
They're selling their own people out, man, for oil and for resource, man. Come on, man. We know about that, man.
Same as what happened to us.
Those guys know.
Same time
Come on,
to
they
them.
got their own lawyers and stuff like
Sold
that.
out.
Go check the chiefs.
Someone sold out the movement.
If you
know?
They're just
research,
part of the business with these guys.
research
you
the
know.
chiefs, like right now, and you'll see that all the chiefs, they got like, when they gotta go somewhere, they have the Benz and people that they're driving around in. They got chauffeurs and all that type of stuff. They're the chiefs of Indian tribe.
Big money's from the
But
casino.
then everybody
George-
else lives on the reserve.
Big money's
Yeah,
from the
George
casinos.
Blake and Sean.
This guy, they just made him a senator.
Oh,
And he was talking
top
to
of that.
Yeah,
What the heck? The
This
Chiefs
guy,
ain't gonna look like the person you're telling me is Native American.
No.
He looks European.
Yeah, that's right.
They do a lot of them too.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Look at the
But
one they
then-
made a senator.
but
You know
then-
that guy?
Not
The
saying
young guy.
he doesn't have none of that
Then-
tribe in it,
Right. Then talk to the ones on the reserve and they'll say, nah, that guy who's the chief right now, we had an problem,
Yeah.
right? And they had a puppet guy for the Euros that they
Yeah.
put in the chief position of our tribe. We don't want him,
Exactly.
right?
They don't have a choice.
But they don't have a
they don't have a
choice.
choice because they have no status.
Yeah, right, and they can't even vote
They
him out.
can't even vote him out.
Mm.
When they could really just nationalize and walk off the reserve.
Right.
And
But in some sense, they're happy enough, or they got them confused enough to be happy.
just like some of
They
our
have the
people
little
with
7%
welfare.
card or whatever.
Just like some of our people with welfare. And
Yeah, yeah.
handouts.
They keep them just, give them just enough to, and keep
Just to
them
keep
just,
them out there.
yeah.
As well as
Yeah.
they got them drugged up.
Plus, they're
Right,
inherently
right.
they're used to this now. They're born into this type
Yeah.
of already subjugation, so they don't know any better.
So they're
you
content with
understand?
their subjugation.
Yeah.
And they're chill, they're good with it.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? They're not gonna argue that we're on a reserve. Even though, they're gonna go show a car, we're tax exempt and
Yeah.
but you live on a reserve.
Yeah, they get a free check from some of the resources, and they're happy.
Because the chief sold us out in the so what's going on?
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean? It's just like, why is your name Johnson? Oh well, slave master gave me that name. Okay, but
Change it.
Why don't you change your name then?
Correct it, right.
Correct your name. Do something. If
They
you know
have
that
been
that's slave
brought up
masters'
to
name.
feel like foreigners in their own country.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah, but that's the education.
That's the programming.
They
They
have
are the
a
result
lot
of the programming. We're not part of that program.
Listen, you gotta also remember, there's only two people here. There's Moors and there's Caucasian European.
Non-Moors.
And Moors include Mexican.
That's
I'm
there's only two
Brazilians and
people.
Moors.
Any race you want to think of for
and whatever.
nationality, there's only two people.
Yeah.
Whether they've been doped and tricked into whatever they're doing now, that's what it is. So some of them became Native American, some of them became Japanese, some of it, whatever. There's only two people.
Yeah, I've spoken to a medicine man, and he was offered the honor of being a chief of a big tribe in Canada, and he says he won't do it because the tribal council, they're Europeanized.
Just conditions and
He
stipulations.
said they're Europeanized. He doesn't want no part of it, and that is a fact.
So they're trying to coerce him into
And
it.
you know what? A lot of the natives, there's some natives there, they don't like the word Indian because that's like you saying nigger to them, right? But a lot of them actually say that they're Indian. So there's some that will not say they're Indian because they realize they're indigenous, names, and some will say it. And a lot of them gave up and said, well, you know what, we had to eat. Right?
Right.
So they took the welfare that was given.
Sound familiar?
Right? And some are still fighting, but just to show you how tight things are, they want the man to be chief, and he says, the whole tribal council, it's all Europeanized. He says, I don't want no part in it. Can you imagine how sad that man is, how that guy feels about that?
Yeah, what
Doesn't
about
want no part. And also, when I first heard of natives living on reserve, it sounded like a posh thing because, I used to do some bodyguard work at the Jamaican consulate for about 2 years there. And the consulate general, they'd come over, they'd have a house reserved for them. They have a parking spot reserved for them. Anybody that parks in that spot, I'm there to be subtle and let them know that that's reserved for the consul and consul general. Doesn't belong to them, right? They get to drive around in the crispest car that you can see out there. They can choose which car they want, and they put red plates on it, diplomatic plates. But it doesn't belong to them. The big White House that they have, wherever it is, it doesn't belong to them. And then I came to learn that the reserves that the natives are on, it's that has been bought out by the Queen.
Right. It's
And
been rented.
It's only reserved.
Yeah,
for
it's
them
reserved. Yeah.
Until the Britons
It's
are
still
ready to
owned
say,
by the
well,
Crown.
Until the Crown is ready to say, well, okay,
out
we're gonna build a golf course or airstrip on there or whatever, and so you guys have to move. It's only reserved for them. It's only reserved for them. Indigenously, it is their land. But
Even
they
if
got
there's a-
frauded out of it, right? They got frauded out of it, and a lot of them don't even know that it's only reserved
That's right.
in that
The
sense.
reserve
Even their
existed.
burial
No,
grounds,
no.
even their so-called burial
Anything
grounds,
on it.
they're not considered
Anything,
holy or.
if you bury somebody on that reserve land, they're gonna tell you, well, we're building on top of it.
Like some people think
That's
the
it.
reserve
You know what I
came
mean?
with the
But
Indians.
real
Yeah,
deal,
and-
it's still indigenous land.
And if you
We always
watch
have to
that
keep
movie,
that perspective.
No.
Poltergeist,
That came with us.
way back
The
in the
reserve is
day.
there.
It is, but
And
it's
that's what that
not.
movie was
But
about.
it's not
They
being
leveled the
claimed
reserve,
as indigenous land.
build up
Exactly.
And then the
what,
girls seeing
housing
duppies.
project
That's why
on
it's
it,
yeah.
and then the whole place is haunted because
Mhm.
they built it on
Yep.
the burial ground,
Mhm.
the reserve.
Mhm.
So that's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah,
They
so
own
they
it,
don't
just
understand
clear
it.
them
They don't
off and
understand
build
the
what they
political
want on it.
aspect of it. They just think it's reserved. So it's
Pretty
like
much
you know,
makes
with
sense.
VIP,
You know what I
it's
mean?
reserved,
Yeah,
like
reserved,
parking
yeah.
spot or a house, right?
I've always
That's not
been
the
like,
reason.
let me
Here,
go,
too.
man. Like, let me go.
The legal
When I want to,
I just
let me
let me
go.
go.
Yeah,
Is there
man.
any more
Yeah.
questions
Yeah,
before we
yeah.
close out?
Let me ask the final questions. Now, we talk, Pujo highlighted about cellular memory. What are the things for we to activate cellular memory? See, it keeps growing, and
Oh.
other schools of thought have forum way to meditation to go inside.
Yeah.
And then, like, in the health industry, sometimes we have what we call psychic fairs.
Yeah.
We have clairaudience. People will come, they read
Yeah.
all these things, all like bringing
Yeah.
spirituality, a little bit going away from religion to more in-depth spirituality. People read palm histories and all that. We know that in Africa, sometimes before a child is born, elders will come and they start to predict and they do some certain things to know what this individual. We are losing it.
Yeah.
So like the Moors, you talk about cellular memory. Yeah, we know we have the right and the left and the right brain, and when you quieten them, things happen.
Yeah.
So what are your perspectives of bringing this cellular memory, educating it, and directing it to the fruition that we could get? We're evolving. The younger generations are coming.
It's a good
What
point,
are
right?
the set down rules so that this could come in, that they will now self-realize?
Great.
The Tibetans, see the way they do about their spirituality. A Tibetan will be born, and right now it's a spiritual land. You go, and that is why people say in North America, everybody's searching. They go to India, they go everywhere. So how do we bring the cellular memory?
Right.
Activate it, because our books have been born. We've been subjugated to this level that we cannot even recognize ourselves. What do we do? We have to touch that area.
All right. We
So-
always touch that
exactly,
area.
yeah,
This is what our people don't understand. Law, divine law, all those people that were doing in Tibet, all the answers, everywhere that they do on the planet, they're not more smarter than us. It's not that. They're tapping into the truth and the divine truth. They're tapping into law, which is zodiac, which divine law, zodiac, through the zodiac chakras. This is it. Moorish science is all encompassing with a Rotarian complexion. This is it. What we talk about, the principles of law, these things transcend and apply everywhere on high and low places. This is the science. This is, instead of teaching people out of a textbook, we're activating it through our cellular memory so that we know it, not just by what the textbook said or how Jurali said it, but now we can internalize it. So that's why we keep on going over and instilling this principle inside here. You know the law, not the law goes like this. It's you study the law. So we're on it. We're on our way, but because we have not, we need more of us to be doing this. That's my input on that.
And also, as far as tapping in and say becoming adept at certain things, if there's a monk and part of the way he meditates is music, he also at the same time that he meditates, he becomes really good at whatever that he plays, right? But that's a very concrete sort of development. You have to understand that when you start living here, like you're more, and you start living on this part of the country called Earth, right? Which is all of North America and South America, then you're gonna start to be able to adapt to things, right? So what we did was we adapted, right? 1492, we realized, these Europeans are coming, we adapted, we did certain things so that we could be sitting here in this room today instead of all of us are millionaires, but we're inept to law and they can come grab us up at any moment. We may not have $1 million between us, but we're studying what we're supposed to be studying.
Remember, $1 million means nothing too, right?
Because it means nothing. So that's why, right?
Fiat money, yeah.
So the adaptability is, I don't mean to put in degrees, but as far as more is here, this is where your genes start to adapt to what they need to adapt to at a high rate. So it's not even about what color your skin is or, how you speak or anything like that. It's the fact that whatever your genes need to adapt to, they'll adapt to. So that you can, transcend and do what you need to do. But part of it, right, because there's people here who aren't on that level and who aren't adapting, whose genes aren't, vibrating, right, and who don't want to come into the family, then we need to secure our rights first, right, so that we can do whatever kind of meditation, whatever it is that we want to do.
And
right? However, it's gonna be at a high level, right? But if you do something at a high level, you have to prepare it. Like you're not just gonna jump in a Porsche and, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you gotta adapt
Right.
to that speed for sure.
Further on,
Nice stuff.
Yeah, that
you
too.
want to know like what we do
You're gonna
to
get catch.
aid our cellular memory. So yeah, it's what they've said. What we're doing is that. I like, you know, if you're thinking of like when you mention some other cultures like that they sit down and meditate, that's how they do their thing. If like for me, I could say I'm in meditation almost all the time. Like
Right.
when I lay down to go to sleep,
Yeah.
these type of things is playing in my head. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's hard for me to sleep.
Sleeping is meditation.
I barely sleep. Tell the truth. You know what I'm saying? But that's what you want to know, how to tap your cellular memory. That's what it is. Know something, study it more, study it more.
Yeah.
Pin it up on your walls.
Yeah.
Study it. Question it. Try to be the devil's advocate to it. Try to find something to dispel it.
Yeah.
Which you can, because it's truth if it's truth.
Start asking
So-
yourself better questions.
These type of things is gonna activate your cellular memory. Like I always say the story, the reason why I'm here is kind of that reason. Is because I asked a simple question. You know what I'm saying? And that simple question
What we said.
in a cellular memory way brought me into this. Started
So
showing.
what we said before is that your spirit never died. So you
Yeah.
were here before as a Moor, and probably are back here
Exactly.
again,
Exactly.
and you found your way back to this.
Back to where you left off last time.
To go into
And the
that.
same with you. You were a Moor in another.
You always is what your
Old
spirit
word.
was. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like
Look within.
we all, as to get a bit Christian with this,
Which is a degree.
we're all created in God's image. We're God-like. So we have this question: what is the purpose of life? For me, what I've come to is the purpose of life is to be God, to be exactly what God like with me. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think of what are things that God does.
Yeah.
Thing that God does is He fights demons. You know what I'm saying? As in when you go through the 40 days, 40 nights, those are temptations, those are the demons He had to fight to ascend. To continue with that, Jesus also goes on to say what He's done, all men will do. So it's not to say you'll do it in this lifetime. Like right now, we're at our old ages and we're just hearing about Moors. We're looking at the youths and saying, do you understand how blessed you are? I wish somebody would have taught this stuff to me at your age.
That's right.
Like by the time you're my age, you're gonna run the world.
That's
Like
right.
that's how we look at them.
Yeah, man.
Because they're getting this at a, you know what I'm saying, at a stage where they can.
Do something
And
with
so
it.
that means to me, in their past life, they probably got it when they were at our age, and
Yeah, it's
whatever
like one of
they
those
did
cycles. They
with
were-
it. So yeah, you will always, for me, reincarnation. You'll always come back, and where you left off, you're gonna get that type of introduction when you come back, like at an earlier age, to
You
help
might as
you
well
get to where
build a
you're
good
trying to get.
foundation, right? Might as well build a good foundation in the law, and the laws so-called that govern the world. If you're gonna have to come back into the world, so that when you come back, your foundation's set.
Exactly.
Then you could meditate all day, every day, 24/7, 365. Because you know what I mean. You incarnated in the right body, and your parents are, you know, princes and
As well-
princesses.
as well as
who
we-
just
we weren't born
let
into
you sit
slavery.
and meditate
all day,
24/7,
every day.
365.
But that's what I'm saying.
You know what?
As you did
And that's
work in
real.
your past life, it will benefit you when you come back. You do the work now. If you come back, then you come back into what we're all asking the question: why the hell it ain't like that? Why don't Moors run America?
Yeah,
All
but
right?
like
We're
I was
building
saying,
that.
that's the whole.
When you
That's the
come back,
whole.
you'll come back to that.
The three monotheistics, right? Buddhism, Christianity, and Islam. And I mean, Judaism, Christianity, Islam. As long as like especially Moors are trapped in those, and then they think they're hype because they were Christians and now they're Muslims. You know, like a Muslim, like an Eastern Muslim, right? And I study Kabbalah a little bit, so they think they're hype. Like as long as they're in those three, then they're in the trap. Because none of those three really tell you, yo, from the first day, yeah, you'll come back.
Yeah.
Like first lesson 1.
Yeah.
In Christianity, that's the last lesson.
Yeah.
That's the last lesson where, like I said, people don't even have faith in it, even though it's the lesson. Right? In Eastern so-called like Buddhism and Hinduism, you know, Taoism, that's lesson 1.
Lesson one.
Because
Yeah,
you know
so
what's
you're here
interesting?
before and now
Because in
you're
the end
gonna
of
come back
Christianity, in the end of Christianity, you're supposed to be able to have salvation even on your deathbed. Right? And salvation is reincarnation.
Christianity doesn't really.
I'm saying,
They don't really touch on it,
No,
right?
Only
Yeah.
so-called Jesus, right?
Yeah.
Only
It touches
so-called
on it if
Jesus.
you study it yourself, right? And study Jesus' words yourself, right?
well,
But then
if
if
Jesus is you.
Like
Right.
Buddha too.
right,
Like Buddha,
With
same thing.
Christianity, a lot of people die just out of fear and they're being nervous because there's something that looms on to say, well, what if I don't make it?
And
You know what I mean? What if I don't make it?
That's why we're blessed
But
to
on
get
pure
this knowledge
principle,
now.
on pure principle, your energy goes on and you learn and you learn and you learn. And cause and effect. You know, if I throw a ball against the wall and it's aiming at my face, if I don't move, it's gonna hit me in my face. That's what I'm responsible for that ball hitting me in my face, even though in life people don't know that that's what they're doing. And what they're getting back is just feedback with what they put out. In the same Bible, I found so many contradictions in the Bible. But here's one of them. No, but here's one specific to this situation here. There was a reading that was saying that whatever sins I commit, it will fall upon my next generation and my next generation and my next generation and my next generation. Right?
I don't know. What do you,
Right?
what do you
It's
think
in
of
the
that?
Bible,
But yeah,
right?
but it's,
But
the
in same
Muslims say that
Bible-
too.
In
Like,
the same Bible, in like Ezekiel,
yeah,
you know, it says, God says, what is everybody talking about in Israel about, you know, the sin falling on the next generation,
Yeah, I
on the
don't
next
believe
generation?
that,
It says,
man.
whatever you do comes back to you.
you reap what you sow, right?
That's it's in the same Bible.
Yeah.
It says, if you have a, if
That's
you
like
have-
saying karma.
if
You
have a
reap what you
bad
sow,
father,
right? That's karma, man.
and
It's
a
just a
good son,
different
right?
language. That's all. A different parable, right? That's all it is, man.
And the father dies, right?
Revenge sevenfold.
Whatever
Oh,
comes
you
back
said
to
that
the father is
before.
for the father. The son is not going to inherit what the father does, right? So we have to get out of this guilt thing. We're responsible for what comes back to us, right? And this is how DNA and cellular memory, you know, this is what helps you with DNA and on this DNA level, right? Is one thing, is energy doesn't die. Energy is just constant. You know,
That's the second
in
lesson.
different forms, right?
Second lesson in Buddhism.
Right?
Taoism.
But now what happens is there's no forgetting of anything. I know where you're coming from, because there's traditions where, you know, we would get together and we would know what the child is going to be, you know, what the destiny is of that child, right? And you're saying that we're not really doing that anymore, so you're wondering, where's there a place for that here, or is that being done here, right? But what happens is, the way that we're made up genetically, we cannot forget anything that has ever happened. Whether you can recall it or not is just a matter of your ability. That's whether you can recall it.
Yes.
We cannot forget anything, right? Everything that's going on in this room, outside this room, for
Staying in our
miles and
subconscious or whatever,
for
right?
galaxies, especially when you're highly melanated. Our melanin records it, access information, tries to figure out what's going on, and then comes up with a way to adapt or to live or to survive. The more you try to press this down, it's the stronger it gets to survive and to do what's necessary. So you being here is your DNA genetic memory, you know, trying to solve it for you, right? Trying to get the answers for you. There are meditations that you can do that can help you tap into that more directly, but it comes with practice. For some it's natural, for some it's practice, but whatever we're not doing now doesn't mean that it can't be done. If you meditate like a Buddhist, or you meditate like you're Sri Lankan, or you meditate like Egyptian or whatnot, it's the same DNA memory that you're tapping into. And when you get to the bottom of it, the Moors taught the principles to these countries that people think are not from Moors, you know, teaching them how to do these meditations. So we never stop doing it. And it's like, once you learn how to swim or ride a bike, do you ever forget how to do that? Okay, so it's just a matter of, if you don't take the bike and ride the bike, or if you don't get into that water and swim, then you're not doing it. But your abilities are still innate within you, right? Once you start to do that now, what's the benefits of riding a bike? Your muscles, cardiovascular, more oxygen to the brain. The brain is thinking more now. You have maybe clearer thoughts. You're swimming, you got benefits physically, mentally, and spiritual, right? So it's like, if you're not using it, it doesn't mean the ability is not there. And there are meditations where if you want to directly tap into something, all you got to do is get on that. Ask yourself, right? Ask yourself. And a part of that is even asking somebody else too, right? When you say I, or the great I am, it's all inclusive. I is everybody in this room here. You asking Cujo a question is like you're asking me and you're asking yourself.
Well, as well as asking your
Right?
ancestors.
Right.
As a community, I walked past a lady in the hall today and I said good day, and she just gave me the dirtiest look, put her face up in the air. And I said to her, Bridget, I said, look at this. This woman is trying to give me attitude, right? And she wants to pass herself off as being a part of the community with the word unity in the word.
Yeah.
You see? So she put down that bike. She doesn't swim no more, right? But it's not to say that she doesn't know better and that she can't do better.
She don't know she's in a king's prison.
Right. What needs to be done can be done in terms of unity, but
On my
maybe she's
way
not
there.
applying herself that way.
On my way here, walking down the street, the first person I walked past was an old white dude, European. Gave me the nod. Like, I wasn't even expecting it. I was expecting to walk by and get the same old scoop at each. I'm like, oh yeah, good day. Continue walking.
Yeah.
Next person I'm approaching is East Indian woman. And she's come towards me. Same thing. I'm expecting the cold looks and shoulders and whatnot. Good day. I'm like, oh yeah, hey.
Yeah.
So
You see, you just never know. This woman
these
looked
vibes,
Spanish.
gave
me that look.
it's all on your vibe and your auras and
Yeah.
things like that. You know what I mean? A lot
Real
of time
talk,
I
real
feel
talk.
And it's all
people.
about their thinking too.
Real talk.
Yeah, but yourself is coming at me.
They stereotype
Especially
you know what-
more the positive,
Right.
the more positive I get,
brother.
the more people see you. That way.
Right.
Yeah.
If you picture yourself as the one who can control the whole room, they're actually feeding off your energy. Because everyone they see you on the bus, they just listening for art. They want to know what we say. If we use this slang word, okay, that's what word is good. They're just buying this, then they'll buy that.
They've been doing that since time. That's what I realized. They have learned how to learn from us.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's just we didn't forget.
Continue to build after the post. I will just close up.
Over there in Peru,
Yeah,
and all those places, they're doing it now.
Forgot every
The
time.
Chinese are there. That's why the Chinese are there.
Alright, so Islam family. Excellent meeting once again. Give thanks. We rise and give honor to the Prophet as we do 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Mother and Father of love.
Mother and Father of love.
Truth. Peace.
Freedom.
And justice. Allah is our protector.
Allah is our protector.
Our guide.
guide.
And our salvation. By night.
By night.
And by day. Through his and her holy prophet. Through Ali. Amen.
Amen.
Ameen.
Ameen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hotep.
Hotep.
Islam.